Hey everyone, welcome back to I Dream of Indie. I'm Ole Gamer Joe here with another review for you today. We're looking at The Ambassador: Fractured Timelines on PC Steam. It is a twin-stick fantasy shooter that was developed by Tiny Dino Games and published by the Quantum Astrophysicists Guild. It is currently priced at $14.99 at the time of this review. The Ambassador: Fractured Timelines puts you in control of Gregor, a member of the Eternal Fellowship who has the unique ability to stop the flow of time. Suddenly, the capital city of Tamaris is wiped out in an instant, which leads you on a quest for vengeance to avenge this travesty and restore peace and order to the world. The game lays out a pretty decent tutorial to start out. It introduces you to the general flow of combat, as well as the time-stopping mechanic that's crucial to your success. Your goal is pretty simple in the Ambassador. You just have to clear out all of the enemies in a given area. The majority of enemy encounters in this game are best fought from a distance in my experience. You can hurl arrows and swords at enemies, as well as other powerful weapons that all have their own pros and cons. As you advance, you'll randomly unlock new weaponry, as well as armor and magical staffs. Each weapon does a pretty good job of feeling different from the other one. For example, the hammer deals out a lot of damage, but it ends up stuck in the ground after you toss it, so you'll have to either freeze enemies with the time-stopping magic ability you have equipped, or carefully weave around them in order to try to retrieve the hammer so you can continue to throw it. On the defensive side of things, some of the armors that you find, like the knight armor, will give you more health, but they slow you down so that your movement and dodging abilities are limited. I found it to be a lot of fun to switch between both different weapons and armors to find out what was best for a given situation. Eventually you're going to find that you do need to interact with the time freezing mechanic in this game. It's pretty crucial to stopping some of the enemy damage that you'll likely take, as well as dealing with some of the bosses that you'll encounter. It's also great for avoiding arrows, so you'll need to be aware of that. There are traps that can be set off if you don't stop time, or maybe even a bridge will collapse, so it's very crucial. It's a big part of the gameplay. This ability is not unlimited in use, however, as you do have a meter attached to it. It will run out, and you'll have to wait a little bit of time for it to recharge. The same is also true for the magic staffs that you'll acquire. You can't just blast away magic non-stop. Eventually the magic does run out, and it will slowly recharge again over time. Ultimately, I was really surprised how much strategy and thought has to go into each encounter, but it makes for a lot of fun. This is not an overly difficult game. I was playing on the default difficulty setting, but it is a fair challenge, and thankfully, to help you along the way, you can also acquire some meat either hidden in barrels or off of rabbits and other animals that you can use to restore some of your lost health. In general though, I really like the flow of combat in this game. Each room feels a bit like a mini puzzle that may take a few tries to solve, but eventually feels satisfying once you do. Graphically, this game has some solid pixel art. It's a little bit on the generic side if I'm being honest with you. I'm generally a fan of pixel art graphics, but the Ambassador unfortunately doesn't do too much to stand out from the pack. I could have done with a few more enemy designs and perhaps a few more map layouts, but overall it's a decent, if not familiar looking title. I wish it did a little more to stand out, but the graphics get the job done. I do actually think the soundtrack of The Ambassador is quite nice though, with some really epic tracks that are fitting for a battlefield. Enemies will let out a bit of a grunt when they're attacked, and sword slashing and spellcasting sound nice and retro. So overall, I did quite like the Lord of the Rings-esque soundtrack here. It's very fitting. It's a little bit overproduced, if anything, compared to the graphical quality of the game, but it works well. I did enjoy it. The Ambassador: Fractured Timeline is an addicting and rewarding experience. This is the definition of a hidden indie gem in my opinion. I think the presentation of the game might be the only thing that's really holding it back. Not that it is a particularly bad looking and sounding game, it isn't as I mentioned, but I do feel there is a generic quality to the graphics and setting that in a sea of indie games may cause some players to look past it. Doing so though would be a grave mistake, as the Ambassador offers up some strategic and fun combat that you won't want to miss out on. So, will you be checking out The Ambassador: Fractured Timelines? Let us know in the comments section below, and if you have enjoyed our video coverage today, consider hitting the subscribe button to help us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. There's a ton of other ways that you can support us down in the description box below. That includes our new merchandise store, as well as becoming a member. However you end up doing so, we thank you so much.